Today is Monday. Woo! Yes, Monday. Man, it's a crazy day. How time is just flying. You can't make this up, everybody. Time is just literally flying. So, we want to talk about anything current at this point. Before we get started, let's go ahead and just say welcome, everybody. Today, Monday, May 4th. Yes, you know what that means. Tomorrow is Monday, May 5th. Cinco de Mayo. Should be a busy day. But for that, let's get talking to what we know and what we don't know, what we have found out and what we haven't found out. There's a lot of information out there, so this is very crucial. Now, the information that's out there is not necessarily information that is necessarily new per se. Okay? We're not talking about new information. We're talking about information that may be to some and may not be to others. But the reality is there is information out there. We just have to go ahead and try to figure out what it is and what caused this. So, with that, let's have that conversation. Where are all my devil pups? Let's make it happen, devil pups. Let's have that talk. Now, normally I come out at 9 a.m., but today came out just a little bit tad sooner. So there might not be a lot of people in currently because they're waiting till 9, but I thought I'd get an early jump. It is a Monday, and that's usually how Mondays go, right? Background, you already know. Law enforcement, prior law enforcement, done many investigations, done many cases, many translations, many arrests, you name it. Yes, just goes with the territory of law enforcement. And then everything else, Marine, served my country, served it proudly, well, love the Marine Corps. Marine Corps is a big part of my life. So that is just a tidbit about who I am. Other than that, let's have that conversation, everybody. So who do we have in right now? If you are in, tell me who you are and where you're from. Let's have that conversation. Let's have that talk, everybody. So, the first person I want to talk to, Carolina girl. Good morning, Carolina girl. Good to have you. Yeah, I came in just a little tad bit early, so I'm sure I caught several of the devil pups off guard, but it's just one of those things. I thought I'd go ahead and come on early and start. Maybe go a little bit longer than normal. So, this is what we want to talk about today. Okay, there's just a lot of things happening, but this is what we want to talk about. First of all, we already know what's going on as far as what's happening and what's not happening for the most part in the Annie Guthrie case, and we're going to touch that here in a few. But I just wanted to give you guys some updates on other cases. So we still have the case in Ohio, up at Columbus, Ohio, and that's dealing with Spencer and Monique Tepe. They were the husband and wife that were unalived by the Monique's ex-husband. They're claiming this was a definitely not a domestic, but it all led up to domestic violence that eventually came up to be literally um, revenge. It was a revenge. Now they did catch the perp in this case. He was McKee, David McKee. He was caught and he was extradited from Chicago, where he worked as a surgeon, of all things. So they brought him back. He has now been literally charged with four counts in the first degree. And they also have literally went ahead and not just charged him, but he is in jail without bail. So he is waiting for a trial date. And it looks like the earliest they're going to get to this case is going to be in June. So that's the update. There's really no more really information going on with that case. Morning, guys, says Mary. Mary, good to have you, Mary. There's no really information right now on that because they have the perp. They found the weapon when they went to his location where he lived up in Chicago, and they were able to obtain a firearm that was used in the unaliving of these two individuals. Sad thing about it is that this Spencer and Monique, they have two children. Both were there at the house at the time. They were upstairs asleep. The incident happened at about 2 to 5 o'clock in the morning. There was no forced entry, which means he probably just opened the door and walked right in. And yes, he committed this heinous crime out of call it out of whatever, but it was just a heinous crime, period. A lot of this had to do with the back and forth. The kids didn't belong to David. Okay, they belong to Monique and Spencer. Those were their two kids. They all attended literally Ohio State University. That's where they all got their degrees from. Now, literally, David McKee, he actually went a little bit further so he could become a surgeon and had to do some internships and all this other crazy stuff. But the more of the story is yes, that is where that case is at. And they are waiting, probably, like I said, in June. I will probably be going to Columbus to try to cover a little bit of what's happening at the court. But it's not like the guy is not found. They do have him in custody. That's probably the best news over everything because at least they got this individual off the streets. So next, we want to talk a little bit about, give you the update on Ruth Shields. That's Joanna Ruth Shields. She was a individual who lived in Carlsbad, California. She was for better lack of words, she was in that community. She was a skater girl. Um, she did a lot of promos for Evolve, uh, and she did a lot of a representation of that brand. Now, she was 37 years old. She was up there by the mountains, up by Big Sur Mountains in that area, and she was on a trail. She was with another individual when apparently they separated. And the next thing I knew, when the individual found her, she was face down in some water, unalived. There is no suspect at this point yet. Police have not got any suspects on this case, literally. This has been nothing more than the only thing they said is that it looks suspicious. They're waiting for some toxicology reports to come in so they can determine what and how she went ahead and became unalive. Some have reported that she had ligature marks around, but later it was come out that the police said, well, that's probably more like ant bites. So I don't know how long she was there. They don't know how long she was missing. The fact of the matter is, uh, there is a lot there. 37 years old, everybody. A 37-year-old looked like a very happy individual. And some has stated, you've heard some people state that she has some depression issues, but other people have stated from Carlsbad that she was just a joy to be around. A great person, happy person, always there to help people out. She was just a nice soul is what I have heard from other people in Carlsbad and in that community. Her mom and dad own run a coffee shop down there in Carlsbad, and of course, they were devastated. Who wouldn't be devastated? But they don't have a suspect at this time. They don't have a suspect. The only thing they have right now is they're waiting for the toxicology report to determine how it was. Now, when that person she was with, they did talk to him, and they asked him, what happened, and he said that they got separated in their hike, in their little doing their hiking and whatnot, and he said when he found her again, she was face down in the water, unalive. That's all he gave. They didn't release that person's name, probably for the right reasons. They didn't say anything else about the individual who literally was with her, her friend. Um, Now, some hikers were the ones that stumbled over her, but when they stumbled over her, there was a gentleman that looked like he was in panic and shocked, and they asked him, what's going on, and that's how they got the information. These hikers, they said he was really looked pale, looked like he was just in stress. So the idea that, and I'm paraphrasing a lot of this stuff, but that's basically what had happened. And so they ended up obviously calling the police. They came out, did their things, did their all their things that they normally do at a crime scene, and they went ahead and are waiting to get reports. So that's the update on that case. And then there's another case that we also haven't mentioned, but should mention because it's an important case. And it's a case involving, and I don't know too much about this case here. Okay, I'm not going to tell you I know a lot because I really don't. I just got this information last night, so I thought I'd go ahead and look into it. But apparently, there is an individual who went missing. Now, she was seen the last time she was seen. Last time she was seen, her name is Holly. Holly, I'm trying to get her last name here. Give me a second. Trying to make sure I get all this because this is very new to me. It just came to me last night. Holly Dasso. And this individual also was a young individual. The last report that they had, if I'm not mistaken, was that they found her literally, um, they found her unalive. They had last time they saw her was that she was getting off a bus in Tucson I believe on the east side. She was getting off the bus, and that's when everything went array because no one knows from that point she never made it home. Now there was a lot of this happened back in like 20, I want to say 2023. Um, but just remember the name Holly Dasso, Hollie Dasso, Dasso. She was a young kid. Um, Sad to have that happen to anybody. I mean, it seems like this world's going crazy. But the reality is, we have a lot to talk about, and they do suspect that there is some foul play, but they just don't have enough information. Um, so they didn't release a whole lot. But Hallie Dasso in Tucson, there's no credible reports, police bulletins, or nothing. There's nothing out there that they're really saying a whole lot. No new updates. So that's where we're at with that. Um, what else we have? And then, of course, the one that we've been talking, it seems like, for the last a little bit over 3 months. They don't have, as far as the Hallie Dasso, they don't have a clear motive. They don't have any suspects. It's not a cold case. It's just a case that they just don't have that information. It is still going on. It is still being looked at. Carolina Girl is such a sad world we live in today. No doubt about it, Carolina Girl. No doubt about it. Now they upped the reward from 10,000 in 2025. They upped it to 15,000. This is probably my guess is a middle class family, and yeah, that's where it's at. But and actually, it's Holly, Hollie, not Haley. Holly Dasso. Now, September 21 to September 22nd, 2023, that's when she was last seen, just so you all know. And it was reported on the 22nd. So when she didn't come home, her parents ended up reporting her. Um, Her body was found near the railroad tracks, and it was in a rural area. It was in a place that's, not commonly to be there. It's already looks fishy. You know what I'm saying? It already looks fishy. Um, they say there was no, she had, they say she had significant trauma. That could be to the head, the body. They didn't really specify. They never found her belongings. I'm assuming that's going to be her backpack and stuff when she got off the bus. They never found her belongings. And as at this point, it's just a mystery. They don't know what's going on, what happened. They're continuing to follow up on tips and persons of interest, but nothing is there right now. So it is remaining unsolved. I'm going to look and do a lot of report for all you guys out there. If you want to look up Holly Dasso and see if you can get some information as well, we'll be talking about that case as well because, once again, this was a young girl. And there's a few things that, as far as I'm concerned, are taboo, and that's the elderly and the young. The elderly and the young and the mental health, there's no reason for this stuff to happen, literally. And when it does, people need to stand up for it. Jenny, did they get any DNA from the body? None whatsoever that they're saying. None that they're saying, Jenny. Good question. Jody, good morning, everyone. They didn't get any DNA. They don't even have any suspects at this point, but they're trying to hopefully that they're going to be. I mean, they got people that they would like to talk, people that may have known her and stuff like that, but nothing outside that box. You know, they just don't know how this happened. But it was reported like the day after she didn't come home, and yeah, so it is. They are looking at it as a suspicious, literally a suspicious homicide. Um, but once again, we're going to be following that case because it's an important case. Like I said, it deals with a little girl. And, like I told you just a second ago, little girls, mental health, people, and women, the elderly especially, there's no room for that in our society as far as I'm concerned. There's no room for any of this stuff in our society, yet alone those three categories. That just, for me, that just hits home. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing some searching today. I just got this, just read it late last night, read it again early this morning. So I haven't really had a whole lot of time to to jump right in. They're not even sure if the railroad site is the area that Holly Dasso was actually at or if it was a dump site that they pulled her from. They don't know. They just know, there's a lot of misinformation going on. Is it common that DNA is not found on a body? I don't think it's is it common? Well, if the perp knows what he's doing, Jenny, then probably he's gonna have ways. The only thing where you're gonna find DNA is if it's an SA or if it's something to that matter, or if it's something in that effect going down that line, then though they would be able to get DNA. Or if there's a cut, blood, that type of thing, anything, saliva, anything like that, yes, they're able to get that. But on this one, it didn't seem like it had any of those that literally, any of those that merit that. So that's what I'm assuming. And is it common? It is, depending on what they come to the conclusion as to why she became unalive. If it's, let's just say, if it's trauma to the back of the head, well, obviously, if that caused her to be unalive, then they're looking at she probably got struck in the back of the head. This was something intentionally done, you know. And if it's something that's dealing with something of any type of tool that was used, well, then you may get lucky, cuts and transfer of DNA, that type of thing. So it's not that it's hard to say, is it common? It is common that there won't be any DNA. You could find fingerprints, maybe around the neck area or around the waist or the body or the chest. You could find maybe items that were left behind, maybe her backpack. You could get, you know, information from that as far as fingerprints. But that's really the extent of it. And when they do the autopsy, that's when they go ahead and try to find all the nuances in that. That's how it usually works, to be honest. Was there an autopsy done to determine the cause of death? No, they haven't got it. They haven't given anything out, any report. They're still looking for and talking to people who knew her and see where that leads. Yes, it's been a while since this has happened, but yeah, unfortunately, some stuff like that does happen. No doubt about it. Didi, thank you, says Jody. 857 has been trying to get attention on Holly. So sad. You very welcome, Jody. You very welcome. The idea, like I said, is that there are certain categories that mean most to me. So when I told you all that, when I had told you before about my personal experience with my sister who was gone, she also had a 7-year-old, 8-year-old daughter who also was with her that went missing. So the young, in this case, a very close person to me in my family, and that's why it kind of hits home a little bit, is because she had her daughter and her daughter was with her, and so it wasn't just her; it was her and her daughter. So that's why this kind of hits home too. Every senseless unaliving is literally that, senseless. Okay? Everything that people do harm to other people for no, I mean, even if there's a reason, you got to have some control, is just wrong, period. But those type of unalivings or hurting of people, there's no room for it. Elderly, kids, mental disability, people that didn't ask for any of this. You know, that's what makes it so hard, because then you have to try to figure all these things out. So we're going to be talking about those more. The first two that I talked about, the Columbus and the up there by Big Sur area in California, those two we're going to talk about probably more the Big Sur, because Columbus, they already have the individual. He's already in custody, and now it's just a matter of waiting for the court hearing. As far as this one here, we're going to have to do a lot more information, because we just don't have enough. We just don't have enough. And they're not releasing a whole lot either. It's not like, they're giving you more information. So we'll be able to hopefully figure some things out and find out the nuances, and hey, at least another person, if they start talking about Holly Dasso, somebody else will come along and start talking about it, and so forth and so forth. That's the whole point. So that's where we are on the cases that we'll be literally dabbling into, and hopefully, possibly make a very good, support in trying to get ideas of what could have happened. That's what it's all about. Um, so yeah, so I just want to share that with you all. That's where we're headed. That's what we're going to be doing. There's so many cases. Everybody deserves to be heard. Everybody deserves to go ahead and figure out, you know, everybody, no matter of their status, no matter of their net income, no matter um, of their affiliation of anything. It's just, yeah. Hang on a second, everybody. Sorry. So that's where we're at. But now let's get to the Nancy Guthrie. So there was some issues that I was watching some live streams and some streams last night with with even with sleuth intuition. I think he's one of the, in my opinion, he's one of the better individuals, probably the best out of all the streamers to be able to gather information. You know, he's really good at gathering information. Kudos to him. He's very sharp. I really enjoy him. Um, but he was talking last night something to the effect of how this possibly could have been staged, and some people have stated that, and I've heard people make that comment that this has been staged, that Nancy Guthrie's, that she never came home and that they went back. Somebody went back with some type of turkey baster or some type of, whatever, and planted planted, not planted, but droplets of the blood and made it look like it was something that it wasn't. I personally, honestly, I don't subscribe to that. I don't think that's what happened. I don't know for sure what happened, but I don't think that happened. My police skills and knowledge and everything is telling me this was literally a kidnapping gone wrong. This was all about the money for me, in my opinion. And I still haven't seen anything to move me off that area, if you will. Now, but he did have a lot of good points, and there is some people out there that have claimed that this very well could have been X, Y, and Z. And I think you're going to get that from a lot of people because we don't have enough information, right? We're trying to figure out things as we're going along. We're trying to figure out ideas and ways how this could have happened. There's so many persons of interest, so many, and the combination could fit almost anywhere. You could put a package together of 3 to 4 here, or two here and two over here. I mean, it's like there's just so much because it seems like they all fit the bill and they all are in the circle, for a better lack of words. And so for me, I'm not thinking it's that, but I do respect everybody's opinion. And as far as that, maybe it was staged, it could be right. Maybe that's exactly what it is. So we're looking at that. But he had some really good information. Really enjoyed his live the other night. Gave him a big shout out, and really like how he puts his information together. It's amazing. And last night, for whoever didn't know, and I'm sure you all know, uh, Tucson stopped in on our live yesterday and went ahead and made his presence known, and gave us a big shout out. And so kudos to him. Appreciate everything Tucson is doing and what he has done. But he did. He came on, became a member, and the whole 9 yards, or subscribed. So that was very encouraging because the word is getting out what we bring to the table. Okay, the word is getting out what we bring, how we think, what we say, the information that we have, and then all the nuances that go in the middle of all that. That's all happening. People are starting to see, hey, Devil Dog 88 and his people they're pretty on it, in my opinion. Jenny says, I find it very strange that the autopsy results have not been released. Doesn't make sense to me. I've never heard of that before. You're talking about on the Dasso case? The Holly Dasso? The Holly Dassel guy? Yes. Okay. Well, like I said, I just looked at it here quickly because I had went ahead and got that information, and and but in here reading about Holly Dasso, I didn't see anything. They don't know. Some had said this could have been an attack by a stranger. Some had come back and said this she could have been hit by the train. They ruled the train out, being hit by the train. They said it's possible, but there's no evidence to support the fact of a stranger went ahead and did this. Um, it could have been somebody she knew was involved. It just hasn't been confirmed. And then they go into the idea of the rewards. They did say there's strong indicators of foul play. Uh, Key missing piece: what happened between the last sighting and where she was found. So the last sighting she was found when she got off the bus. They, that's the last time she was seen when she got off the bus. Then after that, that time span in there, they don't know what happened. Um, so you have the timeline of the bus footage. You have persons of interest without rumors. I mean, there's just a lot there. Now, should they have already done it? There's no doubt in my mind they already did that because this happened back a year, 2 years ago. So they definitely should have that, without a doubt. They should have that. But the idea that they didn't give it in here, and when I looked it up, doesn't mean they don't have it. It just means I didn't see it. So I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure it's out there. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's just see what it says here. Um, okay. Hang on a second. I'm looking at it, but give me a second. Okay, so the ruling of death that came out by the coroner was undetermined manner of death. So what they ruled it is that it's undetermined. They don't know how, and they just labeling it as a suspicious death, and the investigation is still going. So they didn't really find anything, and usually that means that whatever happened in a way that they couldn't extract any information from the body or to know exactly how she went ahead and was gone. That's what it usually means. And according to the Pima County Medical Examiner investigators, her body did show significant trauma, but investigators could not determine exactly how and why the injuries occurred. Therefore, the death was ruled undetermined. So that's all they got is an undetermined at this point. Best I can do for you at this until I really dig deep dive and see what we can put together, what we can find. But appreciate that question, Jenny. Appreciate it. So that's that, and that was on literally the Dasso case. Now the Guthrie, going back to Guthrie now, you know, there's been a lot of things that have come out as in possibilities of who and what and where. And we're not in the business. I'm not in the business. Tegan, hello, listening while I work. Thank you, Tegan. Appreciate you. Now, the idea of the that she could have been taken by so many different people. It's just so many. There's just so many people of interest. And when I look at it as an officer, from an officer's perspective, there's so many people that could have done this crime, and for many reasons. You have reasons all over the place, everything for the money, kidnapping. The only thing I don't see is a just like it was a hit hire, like take her out and that's it. Well, if that was the case, they would have taken out, left her body there, and they would have moved on and got the heck out of there, and not put them in a position to drop any type of evidence or whatnot. The idea that they took the body is what really makes it seem more like this was a kidnapping for ransom. Okay, that's what really signifies that. But as far as like just unaliving and then taking the body and then you're gonna have the body in your car and take a chance of getting caught, that's not normal. Nothing's normal in this case, but that's not normal. That's usually not how it works. So, hey, hey, hey! And just Claire. If you hear Claire barking, Claire is just having her morning wake up fit. So anyway, but that's what it is. So there's some reasons behind it. Now, 92% of people at the age of Nancy Guthrie that are kidnapped is like minuscule, literally minuscule. Just doesn't happen. Okay. And if it does, it's always someone who knows the person, like family. Usually it's family, sometimes it's friends, but you're talking 92%. So now you just have to do the math and figure out, okay, who is related, who is not related, and whatnot. You have to determine that. So the idea that it could be this and it could be that, it could be a lot of things we just don't know. But if we went with statistics, and statistics, there's a reason why they have statistics, because it's been proven that this is usually what happens. That's why they have them. That's usually what you go with until something is proven not to be factual. And then at that point, everything changes. You have to be willing, as an investigator and as a person who does literally cases, you have to be willing to be ready to turn on a dime, literally, and go a different direction, because a case could take you one way and then take you a different way. You understand what I'm saying? It could look like this, but then shift like this, because of the fact of the dynamics and the information that keeps coming in and what you're gathering. So there's a lot of there. Okay, it's not just it looks like this, so this is what it is. No, it's you have to be able to roll and let that evidence take you to where it takes you. Because if you try to put the evidence in front, that's not going to work. You just follow the evidence where it leads you. Because when you start going outside that box, what ends up happening is you start getting lost in the weeds. And what I mean by that is you start literally thinking everything and everything possibility, you know. And next thing you know, you're so confused and combobulated that you don't know what the hell to think. Just like many of us, right? We say, "Man, my head is spinning. I'm losing my brains here. I'm losing my mind." It's because there's so much information from the outside, not from the inside. And I'm not talking about Pima County or the FBI, but I'm talking about so much information from the outside that is clouding that mind, and that mind is trying to process all this stuff, and it just becomes nerve wracking in reality. So that's that. I still believe it is a kidnapping gone wrong. No doubt. I do believe more so that she probably became unalive pretty quick when this happened. She became unalive pretty quick, in my opinion. That's what threw everything. That's what threw everything off, because then they had to start running on the fly. Okay, they had to start running on the fly, and that usually means that you're going to make mistakes. When you have a plan set, you work that plan to the T. You have gone over that plan and you run it. You run that plan. But as soon as that plan is no longer void, you think, well, just go to your secondary. Well, a lot of people don't have a secondary plan. They're not that well skilled. So what ends up happening is they start making decisions and moves on the fly. That's what gets them caught, or that's what makes everything so complicated. Just so you all understand, that's how it works. So I do believe that's exactly what we're dealing with, is a kidnapping gone wrong. No doubt in my mind. Now, if I'm wrong, could I be wrong? Yeah, of course I can. Of course. No one's perfect. Of course I could be wrong. But based on the information that we have already had, and we have seen, and we have heard, and we have watched, to me it just, I always use the word, it's a no-brainer, but I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just a no-brainer to me that's what it is. So that's what we're looking at there for me. Um, could it be something else? Yes. And if you got ideas, throw them out there, chat. Throw them out there. Everybody in here has an opinion. Throw it out there. You know, we've covered everybody from the son-in-law. We haven't really talked a lot about her daughter, uh, uh, A. We talked about TC. You can't rule them out, period, first of all. Because the last place they were seen was their house. And they were at Annie and Tommaso's house, right? That was the last place they were at until TC took her home, as reported by TC. He took her home. But then when she gets home, he was the last one to see her, and there is no video, there's no pictures, there's no nothing claiming that he ever made it home, made it to her home. Okay, she supposedly goes in through the garage door. 2 minutes later, the garage door closes. He leaves, but there's nothing showing a vehicle leaving or coming, and that to me is that's just hard to take in, I guess. Carolina Girl says, I watched Patriot Pride uh, last. He showed several pictures, images of the perp with color added in it. Was interesting to see. I almost watched that. I know exactly what you're talking about because I seen that they had that, and I was like, and it said something like, I think the thing said something like watching color or something like that. And I wanted to watch it, and I never made it back to Patriot Pride. So I will take a look at that. It's interesting how when they add that, everything looks a lot more clear. So yeah, but I do remember seeing that last night, not watching it, but seeing where the heading of, Patriot Pride, watch this in color, and I thought, what the hell, and yeah, so I will check it out today, no doubt about it, Carolina Girl. Um, so that's what we have, right? So you have a possibility of the son-in-law. You have a possibility of the daughter. If the son-in-law did it, it would be almost crazy not to think that the daughter didn't know about it, right? I mean, it would be crazy to think that. But then again, it could have been. It could be that. It's I don't know. I just think that a spouse is going to know exactly what her husband is doing, and it's something major like this, that's going to have to be a all in type of deal, in my opinion. Not saying it is, I'm just saying. That's one theory. Of course, then you got the other theory that you have Kaleha up in California, and you have possibly TC, and maybe even DL involved, right? So you got that little combination. But you can also spin it with LD, TC, and Kalela up there. And there's so many possibilities. That's the whole problem. And what has happened is there hasn't been any literally there hasn't been any deletions. And what I mean by deletions is getting people focusing and honing in on one individual, and then slowly start pulling it apart. Slowly start, literally identifying an individual, looking at his whole record, looking at everything about him, his associates, what he does, who he does. And if you still, and then looking at their associates about him, and then if at that point you can't find nothing, well, then it's probably safe to say he's probably out of the equation, unless later on somebody brings him back into the equation. Well, I haven't even heard that. So I haven't heard anybody really being dismissed. And that's the problem. Because now you have probably, I would say, I don't know, 15, 20 people that it could easily be that we may know of. That's a lot of people to try to figure that out and try to, throw that dart at that board and say, that's him. Boom. Well, it's kind of difficult because you only got three darts and there's like, you know, 15 suspects or somewhere in there. That's a lot. You want to narrow it down so you can focus on just those. Okay. But you want to make sure that you're not narrowing out the people that really had the opportunity to do this crime. That's just how it works in law enforcement. So one of the things, another thing that was talked about a lot, um, was it was really interesting. I watched a little bit of JLR, his information that he put out, and apparently, kudos to him for putting this out. But apparently, he has showed some records that the day before, on of the 30th of January, uh, TC and A had their property surveyed. They had their property surveyed the day before she was taken, or day and a half before, whatever you want to call it. Day before she was taken, they had their property surveyed, and he showed the actual copies of the information that they had to show when they did it, when they put it into the books, the whole 9 yards. And I thought that was interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people thought it was interesting. I was like, why? How does this happen? Is this once again another coincidence? We got so many coincidences in this story. It's pathetic. But what you're supposed to say, right? What is it? A coincidence? They just happen to go ahead and get their property surveyed, like where their lines are all at. What was the reason for that? And did they even ask him that the Pima County Sheriff's asked him, why did you get your survey done? Well, it's not like he's going to say, well, we wanted to know what's our properties to keep everybody off our property, and maybe we want to do X, Y, and Z. You gotta read between the lines, because I don't want to say some things, out loosely. But the idea is that, yeah, that happened the day before she was taken. So what was said at that gathering at their house the day before, right? What was said? What was the conversation? Mom, you're going to move in with us. Mom, we need help, more money. Mom, you need to help us with our taxes. Mom, you need to help us with this or that. We don't know. And because we don't know, I'm hoping somebody went ahead and asked that question. Exactly. And I believe that they already have a pool, if so wouldn't need for that, have a pool, if so wouldn't need it for that. Correct, true. So yeah, well said, Jody, well said. And that's the thing. Where are you supposed to go with that? How does that happen? That doesn't happen in a vacuum. It doesn't happen overnight. You had to have planned this, you would think, right? That we need to get our property surveyed. But it's surveyed the day before she goes missing. It makes no sense. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It just adds more to the case. It adds more to the case. It puts a lot more doubt that maybe there was some involvement. I'm not saying they're involved or not. I'm just saying literally that it doesn't look good. Is the best way to put it. You know, and we still haven't found out some things with LD. As far as what he's been around and what he has been. I mean, he's been awful quiet. I haven't heard his name here lately in a while, literally, and that's odd. But I haven't heard his name, and yet, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. The comments that he made to Brianna Whitney, the reporter from Tucson, crime reporter, the comments that he made to the police right there when he was being pulled over at Culver's, the idea of what did they get from the house when they went ahead, because they had a search warrant. What did they get from the house at that search warrant? And Nanos came out, did a press conference, and said, we got some things. And then they asked him, well, what is it? Could you elaborate? He said, it's being processed. When someone gives you so many vague answers like that, how in the hell are you supposed to make any sense of it, right? That's when all these different theories and ideas and suspicions kick in. Okay, so yeah, that was one of the things. They did take some stuff out supposedly. Some stuff was checked. It is still being checked according to Nanos. But here's one of the crazy things I heard, and I'm gonna keep it on this, but I'm gonna just kind of share this with you. So I'm reading something, and I don't know if it was stated on TV or whatnot, but I'm reading it, and it talks about how Nanos is now saying, that if the people could send tips, that they're right there, they know, that someone knows what happened, and they need the tip from the people, and they need the help from the citizens to come up, and give them some tips and help them out solve this situation and all this. And it's like, dude, that ship sailed a long time ago. People wanted to help you before. People wanted to go search. People was giving you information. Matter of fact, I think there was even streamers that were giving information to Pima County Sheriff's Office, and they were saying, well, we don't take it. Go ahead and give it to the FBI. They're handling it. You remember those things? Because I remember those things. When they were in the washes and they would find stuff, they would then go ahead and call, and they would say, just give it to the FBI. They're the ones handling it. So it's those type of things. And now all of a sudden, Nanos wants to say, "Hey, we would like your help. We need your help. If you guys could send in some tips, we went over X amount of thousands of tips, but if you guys could send us a tip, something that looks, you know, out of ordinary, maybe send us some information from the cameras, your cameras of your houses, so that we can see, maybe find something that's in there, that will help us." It's like, dude, you're asking for this information 3 months later. Not that you didn't get some of it before, but you're asking like you want to involve the citizens now to come and help you, when in fact they were trying to help you at the beginning, and you discarded them because you felt you didn't need their help. You know, that's ridiculous. It was laughable. That was desperate move by him to try to save himself from his losing his job, which I think is going to happen. I really do. Okay, so it's like you can't ask for something now that when people are trying to help you, you then kick them to the curb, and now you're saying, "Hey guys, come back, come back and help." Well, who's going to do that? Everything's pretty much gone. Paige, good morning, dog, and Chad. Good to have you, Paige. So there's a lot of things there that don't make no sense. Okay, for him to ask the people's help now, man, that ship has sailed. People already made up their minds that their interest, their well-being is not your interest. In other words, Sheriff Nanos, people feel that you cannot protect them because they are not in your interest. Good morning, Lisa, says Carolina Girl. So that's what we have there. And you can't blame the citizens. They wanted to go out and search. What did they do? A search. They did a search for what? 2 days? That was it? Think about that for a minute. You had all these people that wanted to organize searches, and then you were telling them they needed to get a permit? It makes no sense. Carolina Girl in the house. You understand what I'm saying? It makes no sense. And now you have even agencies like, nonprofit organizations, for example, like Cajun Navy, whether you like them or not, and they wanted to come in and do this search for free. Nope, never got a call back. Pay says, "Can the porch guy be Annie?" I was thinking of that too, Paige. And obviously, it could be anybody. Groundsky's in the house. Good morning, Groundsky. Um, I don't see why not. I mean, I can see where that face, the eyes, and everything look like a female. I'm not going to rule it out. Not just her, but even like someone like Kiki or her, or somebody like that, or maybe even a, a KD, someone like her. I cannot rule that out because here's the thing: we don't have any direction already right now because of the lack of information that Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI have given us. So, do I think it's possible? Hell yeah, I think it's possible. Do I think it's probable? It could be. You know, uh, I will say this: I will not rule anything off the table. Nothing off the table. Absolutely not. Because what it looks like to me is it very well could be. And I thought about that the other day. Thank you. You very welcome, Paige. No doubt in my mind. I was going to do a dive into her as well as the next person we would talk about, but, Sleuth already beat me to it. And Sleuth Intuition, which she did a good job on it, talking about possibly what role she had to play in this, and he did a really good job. I really enjoyed it, but I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to go there at this point. Justin investigates. Hello, people. Hello, buddy. How are you doing? Good to have you. So yeah, that's the whole dynamics here. MMQ 100% agreed, in my opinion. So now we also have the possibility that could it be a female that's at the front door? Absolutely could. Like I said, I think it could be K that was doing the photo shoot. I think it could be A, which you know who A is, and I think it could be KD. It could be one of those three. It just really depends, in my opinion. They fit the bill, they fit that, they have that eyebrow thing going on, the neatness, they have it's just they have that. Pay says, I believe the FBI knows. Well, I would like to say that honestly, and I have said that before on my lives with you all. I have said there's no doubt FBI has a person of interest. But then I read and I see stuff and I read stuff that say from prominent people, not just people, I'm talking prominent people that would know on the inside. And I hear they really have no leads. No one has any leads. Pima County doesn't have a lead. So and so has said that this person doesn't have a lead. And then it's like, Jesus, God, man, like it makes you wonder, do they even have a lead? And no, that's a good point, Paige. That's a good point. That because there for a while too, I think they had the person. They just couldn't put the dynamics, that piece of the puzzle together. You're not wrong in that by no means. It's just the idea that I thought the same thing, and then I'm like, I'm hearing how sources are telling certain people there is no lead. They don't have any suspects in mind, and then we're like, well, what the hell do we have? You know, I refuse to believe they have nothing. Well, you know what, Mary, I too would love to believe that they have a lot of information, and I've stated as much earlier in my lives. I just don't know the answer to that, in all honesty. I hope they do, because it's going to look really bad if they don't have anything. And yes, time will tell, no doubt about it. So it's just you have to put everything within perspective. You're talking 3 months, over 3 months, over 30, 90 days. That's a lot of time, people. These things, if they're kidnappings, all right, for ransom, they usually last like 3 days and they're done. 3 days. Now, I know this is so abnormal, and everything that has happened seems to be abnormal, like not like what you usually would expect from a kidnap for ransom or anything. But still, 90 days. Oh my God. It's just crazy. It's insane. It's insane. How do you get that? How do you literally get that? How does it go that bad? You know? With all the technology we have, how does it get to that point? Time is dueling my brain. This is getting harder and harder. I get it, Gronsky and Eileen. I get it. I understand. Pay says prayers for Nancy. No doubt. Prayers may be the only thing we have. But the idea that this is what's happening is just crazy. It's crazy. It makes no sense. So now, some have talked about LD being a prime, me specifically, you know, and I think he's a prime candidate to be involved. Not that he was the mastermind. I don't think he was the mastermind. Make no mistake. When I say he's involved or he's my top of my list, I'm not saying he's the mastermind. Okay, let me be clear. I don't think that man could ever be a mastermind at anything, in my opinion. Bridget, good morning, Bridget. Hi, everyone. The idea with him is that I believe he is a person that could very well be involved. He is on my top of my list. He's not the guy that put everything together. He's not the mastermind. He's not the Walter White, the genius. He's not that guy. He's just a guy that is a body that could help fulfill this mission, this task of whoever put it together. but I don't believe he's put it together. I believe he's involved because of everything he has stated and how he has stated and how he has carried himself, the comments that he has made, the things that cannot be factually proven. I do believe he's involved. I just don't know to what extent. Good morning, nanos, bots. The case, day one. The question is why. I'm going to get some water. You are exactly right. That case was botched. Day one or day 90, it still was botched. And I don't know how, because what happens when another agency takes over, usually when another agency takes over, like for this example, the FBI, right? They take over. Okay, let's just say they take over. And they take all the information that Pima County Sheriff's has. Then what they go do is they go start at the beginning and they start going ahead and going through all that information quicker because they have already a lot of the information. I'm just not sure that they had any information to work with when they got it from Pima County, if you think about it. I'm not sure they had any information to go on. So if that's the case, then what the hell did they have to work with? And then, the house has been, now released back to the family. I mean, I heard something like, and anybody here, correct me if I'm wrong, please, because this is what I heard watching streamers and lives and people that were talking about this. But I heard, tell me if I'm wrong, but that after the first 2 days, he released the crime scene, or he released the house back to the people, to the owners, in this case to the family, and then 2 days later he went ahead and like basically said, no, not released. We're going to go ahead and because all the people were there. See, Mary says, yeah, who does that? Think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute. Okay? You're going to have a scene that has become a crime scene. You're going to have it for literally 2 days. You're going to release the house back to the family. And then, because people start walking on the property and start taking pictures and this and that, you're going to then go back and now cordon it off and say, no, it's off limits. It's a crime scene. It's like, how in the hell do you do that? It's insane. I've never heard of that. I have never heard of that. In my long time in law enforcement, I have never heard of a crime scene being released after 2 days and then going ahead and releasing it back to the family, only for 2 days later come back and say, no, it's a crime scene. We're going to have to take back the crime scene. Look how much has been damaged. Look how much has been affected. Look how much has been literally destroyed of evidence, not by maybe purposely, but just people walking on certain things. It's ridiculous. So yes, I agree with you. From day one, yes. From day one all the way to the end so far, the 90 plus days, he has really screwed a lot of things up. No doubt about it. Does FBI ever give press conferences? I think not, but I don't know. They do give conferences, news conferences on high profile cases like this. They do that. Um, they don't do it as much as like what a local sheriff or a local chief would do in his department, right? But they do have, for big high stake type of crimes like this, the high notoriety. They will go ahead and give stuff out. They just haven't given anything out this time, and it's probably because they didn't get any information from the Pima County Sheriff's Office that made any sense. I know he released it back to the family within 2 days. Yeah, that's what I heard. And I did not know that until the other day. And I thought, are you kidding me? Like, how do you do that? Think about that for a minute. You tell the family they have their house back after 2 days. Okay? And then you come back and say, no, you can't have the house back after people already been there. You say you can't have the house back. It's a crime scene. We need to go ahead and cordon it off. Then you just cordon off around the house. You don't cordon off the whole property like you should have done the first time. You cordon around just the house and a little bit of the property, the front of the property, and a little bit of the back, but nothing like the whole property line. It makes no sense. None. Then I don't know if you guys remember this. I'm going to bring this up because I just remembered this, and I want to see if anybody else remembers this. But you remember when we were watching the white car and the blue car show up in the driveway, and a lot of people were speculating that it was like FBI or private investigators or whatever. And then there was this one time when this one car pulled up, and he pulled up, he got out. I think it was a white car, could have been a blue car. He got out and he walked towards the back, and you hear him say, "What are you doing?" And then he says something to the effect of, he says something. Morning, investigates Kate. And then he says, "What are you doing?" And you can't see him talk. You hear him, but you can't see him like talking to anybody. He's like, "Get out of there." And then all of a sudden he goes back in his car and he leaves. You guys remember that at all by any chance? Ocean Waves is in the house. Good morning, Ocean Waves. You guys remember that? Or no? There was a car that pulled up. The guy got out. He walked like he knew exactly where he was going. He walked straight towards the back and he yells, "What are you doing?" Yes, Paige, it's perfectly fine. This is our channel. Absolutely. Morning from Dallas. Good to have you, Ocean Waves. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I remember, says Paige. He did say that. Somebody came out there almost like he saw somebody sneaking behind the house, literally. Could be taking pictures, could have been anybody for that matter. Taking pictures, could have been somebody just looking around, could have been somebody that wasn't supposed to be on the property. And he literally walked up to the house, got out of his car, walked up to the house by the garage. He looks like in an angle and he goes, "What are you doing?" And everybody's like, "What?" And then he goes, "You need to get out of there." And then he goes straight back to his car, gets in his car, and he leaves. I remember that. And it was probably within the first 3 weeks. Man, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, somewhere in there. And I thought, man, like, what was that about? And I think people even made comments about, yeah, somebody was probably there, or some little kids, riding their motorbikes in the back, because there were some kids that were riding their motorbikes in the back. Uh, so yeah, morning from Oregon. What's going on? How's it going, Notorious? Good to have you. So that didn't make any sense to me. That made no sense to me. Like, who are you talking to? Could be entertaining from behind the backyard. Could be, yeah. That's what I thought. But he was looking at the backyard, but like he saw somebody, whatever they were doing, he saw somebody, and he said, "What are you doing?" Real loud, because I remember the people that were on the street. They regurgitated, "Oh, did you hear that?" He said, "What are you doing? Who's he talking to?" And then all of a sudden he goes, "You need to get out of there." And then he went back, got out of his car, and he left. Made no sense to me. Do you know anything about nanos and a special reporter that Robert mentioned earlier? No, I don't. I don't. Fill us in, Paige, because I don't. Ocean Waves says Simplify. Right back at you, Ocean Waves. Hoorah. Paige says Notorious. Robert, I was talking about Dee Dee cat meowing. The cat is in here. He's sleeping. Thank God. Robert, the cat is sleeping on the couch. He is out. Hit the like, everyone. Do me that favor. Hit that like. Do me that favor. Hit the like. If you are new and you are in here, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything at this moment. Doesn't cost you anything. And the reality is that you get to help us and we get to help you. We all help each other become smarter. That's how it works, everybody. That's how this channel works. Do me that favor, everybody. Click that like. Hit those emojis. Do me that favor. Paige says, I don't know either. Carolina Girl says, I thought Robert was talking about Bandit the cat. Well, that's what I thought. Bandit's laying down. The cat. He's laying down. He's asleep on the couch. Yeah, he's not meowing. He's out. Must have had a late night. Growski, there was screaming from the back in some lives. Yes. Now I remember there was some people in the back. They were on like I'm only guessing, but the talk was they were like on motorbikes, dirt bikes, or ATVs or whatever, and they were in the back and they were screaming and yelling and all this. Then kind of thought, oh, a bunch of kids you know, just being kids, right? Yelling and screaming. But that one that got off, he was one of the regulars that would always stop by every morning. He got out of his car, he looked at the side by the garage towards the back, and he said, "What are you doing?" real loud. And then nothing's gonna sit back, and then he goes, "You need to get out of there. Or you need to stay out of there, one of the two." And then he came back around, got in his car, and left. That never left me because I was like, well, who is he talking to? And it could have been a kid. It could have been somebody just, you know, people are away. Hey, I could sneak in here, maybe take something or whatever. We try to connect the dots. We always try. No doubt about it, Groundsky. Lisa Page. That's what I'm saying, everybody. We have literally so much. The problem is a lot of this information is just circumstantial information. Okay. Now, it's only circumstantial because we can't validate it, right? We can't validate a lot of what we do know. The only things you can validate are people who give you specifics. And the reason you can validate that is when people give you specifics, you can go and check to see if that specific is a fact or if it isn't. So that's the only time you will ever be able to be given specifics that you can prove or disprove if that is a fact. But right now, we got a lot of circumstantial things that literally don't mean a hill of beans. It's just opinions and information, and it makes sense. It all makes sense, but you can't use it to go arrest somebody. You know, I looked up Kayla Day. She's still in jail. She's been in jail for quite a while. I don't know if it's a burglary charge that I saw or whatnot, but I looked it up, and yeah, she's still in jail. She's not out. Paige says thanks. She got arrested. The very next day, LD got his vehicle searched and his house with search warrants. They had search warrants the very next day. Makes you wonder what was said. What type of plea bargain? Is she there by choice because it's for protection? Who knows? It takes a whole lot of time to take all of this in. It does, Gronsky. I hear you, my friend. Then on top of that, you have the fact that you have literally information that's not being put out there. The simple stuff, the stuff that should be like easy to say. Yeah, we saw the video of TC arriving. He did arrive. We noticed that the timestamp on the garage door opening up. We noticed that it closed, and we noticed that TC went ahead and left the premises. How hard is it to say that? But you can't. So what can you say? They're cleared. Really? How does that work? You know, you can't say a person even showed up, but you're going to say it's cleared. What is it that you're hiding, or what is it that you're not telling the people? You know what I mean? What is it that you're causing you to feel like you can't tell the people what's happening? Makes no sense. None. So Nancy's case is really unique because a lot of things that normally you would expect didn't happen. And a lot of things that you would expect or wouldn't expect has happened. So either way, you're screwed. You're not getting jack. And that's the problem. There is nothing there. Nothing. No there. Bridget, did you check out what people were talking about items belonging to Nancy? Yes, I did. And that didn't even make sense to me. So I looked that up. I saw that. And it said that they found some type of like a almost like a Fitbit type of, I don't know what the hell they call them, but they're like a Fitbit basically. And Lisa Page, Devil Dog, is a former Marine and a former law enforcement officer. It's like a fitness thing, and then they found what appears to be her clothing. Okay, I can't find anything else about it. They found clothing and a fit type of like a fitness type of gadget or something. And the idea is that literally the problem is that they don't know for sure if it was hers, but they said it was possibly that they found it in Colorado in Langton, or something like that, Logton, and they find it in Colorado, but they don't know. Yeah, it's like you go look it up and you pull it up, and they give you a different lady on the cover, and they mention somebody who's 37 years old. It just threw me for a loop. I was like, what the hell? Nothing made sense in that story. But I did read it. Just didn't get anything out of it, to be honest. And they said that they're looking at that information. They went to a house, or first they said they found it, then they said they went to a house and located this stuff that was there. I have no clue, but I did read it and I did see it. Ocean Wave says Bridget JLR on his way to meet DGL Doggone live in Colorado this morning. There's another Nancy Guthrie in Colorado passed last year. Yes, I saw that one too, Ocean Waves. Yes, there is another Guthrie that passed in Colorado. Didn't make any sense when I read that, because if you go and you read it, it'll tell you that there was another lady named Nancy Guthrie with a different picture, not the Nancy Guthrie that we're thinking of. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what the odds of that? Bridget says, yes, I know that, but I was wondering if they said anything else about it. No, they were just saying that that they would have more information later, that they didn't have any, like they couldn't give anything out, basically. But yeah, no, I was just answering that your question, that I just couldn't find anything that showed Nancy Guthrie, who we're thinking Nancy Guthrie, because that's what I was thinking. And then I find out, well, it's in Colorado, and it doesn't seem like the lady fits the Nancy Guthrie that we're looking at. Paige says, thanks for your experience. Respect and dog. Appreciate every one of you. Click that like, everybody. Appreciate you. Bridget said, really? Okay. Ocean Waves. Weird stuff. The Twilight Zone for sure. They could make a movie on this like tomorrow. Keep a watch on his live. He said he's going to the police department. Who's this? Ocean Waves. Oh, JLR and Dogs Gone Live are going to the police department in Colorado. Gotcha. I think that's what you were meaning. Growski, what is that? Another Nancy? Very old, very odd. Yeah, it just made no sense. It was like kind of like really like what the hell's going on here? What's this? A coincidence? A double? Tegan, there are also a lot of AI channels, no doubt. So many spewing out rubbish and confusing everyone. Some of them have horrific thumbnails. Yeah, no, I did notice that. That it's almost like you have to be very careful on whatever news you get from whatever you get it from. Ocean Way says, yes, same name. Yes, I saw that. That's why it didn't make any sense because the pictures were different. And then they even said one of them said it was a 37-year-old. Then it gave you the obituary, and I'm like, what? So yeah, it was very confusing, no doubt to say the least. Tegan, yes, clickbait in my opinion. I only use my trusted sources. There you go, Paige. Gronsky, those guys like to chase danger. JLR dogs. Ocean waves at Grib. Bridget, yes, listen out. Yes, I'll listen out when JLR and DGL go live again. Lisa Page. Ocean Waves laughing out loud. It's just crazy. It made my head spin because yeah, and I read that last night right before I went to bed, and I read that and I was like, I had to read it like over and over and over and over because I was like, what the hell? This is not making sense. But yeah, that just goes to show you how what's out there. Tegan, Tegan says at Lisa Page. Yes, we are learning to check everything. We have learned so much about researching. Yeah, no doubt about that. That's for sure. My head is buffering, says Lisa. I can understand that. No doubt. No doubt. Looked up some pictures with like the story behind Mojito or Mojito. You know, the DJ at that fetish ball place or whatever, how he was connected to TC and how he was the producer of their music and how he was also the producer of Kaleha's music. And that was quite interesting read, looking up him. Very, very, very weird cat, no doubt about it, to say the least. Very weird cat. Patriot Pride has a color picture of the Porsche guy. Looks like the guy walking the dog, in my opinion. I'm going to check it out. No doubt about it. I am definitely going to check it out, Kiki Khan. No doubt about it. Let's see. And then let me see here. What else was I going to bring up? There was something else I was going to talk about. Oh, Lord. There was something else just slipped my mind I was going to talk about. But that's what we're dealing with this case. That's why it's so frustrating because we're not getting anything. We're not getting nothing. Lisa Page, Holly Dasso. I don't think it was her that I was going to bring. I already talked about her. Um, it was something to do with a comment that was made by someone. Um, Anyway, it'll come back to my mind. Tegan Khan, at this point, everybody looks like Porch Guy to me. No doubt. They all have that same big ass head, long kind of oblong head. They have the same eyes, same goatees. No doubt about it. I went. I went to see the color picture. I go look at Patriots Pride last post. Okay. Sounds good, Bridget. So now we're in our 90th second day, I believe. Lisa Page says, same body shape. Everything is just the same, identical, almost like that's what I'm saying. It could almost be like they all fit that same narrative when it comes to the physical appearance. But why has there's so many people that have really been quiet. Luke has been quiet lately. Um, I mean, a lot of people have been quiet. And you would think, okay, when it's quiet, somebody's going to go ahead. Crickets. Crickets. Kiki Khan says, Bridget Clark, very interesting. Same clothes, right? Down to the pants and shoes. Yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. It definitely is a head scratcher, no doubt. Very much a head scratcher. So, how many think literally that TC and AA have something to do with this? In all honesty, how many of you guys think that TC and A have something to do with this? Lisa says supposedly the dog walker lives in the neighborhood. In the neighborhood, hearsay. I think Nano said something about that. Every person close to this case are being suspiciously quiet. You're right about that, Bridget. No doubt about it. 110%. Yes, TCNA, in my opinion, says Paige. How about everybody else? What do you all think? TCNA. Do you think they have something involved in here with Nancy? I didn't think they do. I'm feeling kind of sorry for them. That's understandable. TC's covering for A, in my opinion. Interesting. Little Red B, yes, TC and A. Interesting. Good to have you, Little Red B. Groundsky, yes, they act odd. They do act odd. They act totally different. Prove me wrong, please, says Paige. Well, we can't really do that. I don't think anybody can prove anything wrong with anybody for anything because we just don't have that nugget. Ocean Way says, Deacon, I'm watching in Dallas for backpacks with vans, etc. LOL. Paige, Little Red Bee, Bridget. I believe A and TC know something they're not telling anyone. Very possible. Very, very possible. Very possible. Ocean Waves, I've got me too, and I'm in. Little Red Bee, good morning. Ocean says, Tegan says, Ocean's loving on me too, and I'm in England. Uh, so I mean, you can't rule the family out if you can't rule TC and A out. Please like and subscribe, everyone. Do me that favor. Click like and subscribe. Thank you, everyone, says Paige. Hit that algorithm going. Get that algorithm. Hit those hearts. Hit the hearts and go ahead and hit the hearts and the emojis. It just helps more people get in and we can get more people to learn more about everything that's going on. King Charles, says Paige. So so we got that with Nancy. What else with Nancy? Somebody said something really bugging me because was trying to think of what it was. Somebody says something in reference to, yeah, I just don't know. Just don't know. There's so many probable people that have done or are part of this. Either or. Pick your poison. It's almost like you can't go wrong with just picking 3 or 4 suspects, you know? Growski, I'm glad people are willing to answer in the chat. Absolutely. No doubt about it. That's what it's there for. Everybody. You all have a voice. You all have a voice to go ahead and voice your opinion. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Bridget, as close as A and TC were to Nancy, they have to have an idea of what happened and who would do this. You would think. Pay says, spread love, please, everyone. Spread lots of love, everybody. Man, these Mondays are always so rough. But yet there's completely silence. But yet it doesn't make any sense. And then they have the private security that's in their house. Remember, they have TCNA have private security in their house. JLR saw a white contractor van in a neighborhood the first week. Man was outside van. Interesting. And then there's been a lot of chatter here lately on the guy walking his dog. What was it on the 9th? The 9th and the 14th, walking his dog. Looked like somebody that had spoken to Sleuth Intuition. Did you see video of Gem Guy girlfriend? She is out to lunch. I don't think so, Gronsky. I dismissed the dog walker in my opinion. I can understand that. What about Kalela? Do you think he's involved in anything from California? You think Kalela's involved in anything? Anybody? Derek Kalela from California? No. Yes. Anybody? Bridget says, I believe it's possible. Well, thanks, Bridget. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think there's something there as well. I don't know what it is, but my gut is telling me that something's up with that guy. Little Red said, "Oh yeah, Kalela, yes." Gronsky says, "I never realized how close it was to get there." Fact of the matter is, I think the FBI are doing some checks, literally, but they're just not telling anybody if they found anything or not. You know what I mean? I don't think they're telling anybody whether or not they found anything. I just think they're doing checks when they get people of interest or people that they feel are suspicious. They'll go and they'll do that, but they won't say anything. You know what I mean? And that kind of sucks for people like us. Paige, can you still see me? I can. I see you, Paige. So yeah, that's the whole thing in a nutshell there. Anybody's in it live, if you like the live, join up. Help us all become more smarter. Paige says yay. Help us all get smarter. So who else do we have? Kalela Daily, NETC, Tommaso. Jody says that Derek, he want it makes a deal that they tell on others, in my opinion, rather than take all that heat himself. That's very true. That's very true. Very possible. Very possible. What about what about literally the idea that I'm trying to think of who had that I watched. It was man, for some reason my brain is going brain dead. Lisa Page. Let's see. What about literally any new information you guys have found? Anything that seems very odd? Anything that looks very suspicious? Paige, I'm entertaining myself because we are just recapping. I hope it's okay with everyone. Absolutely. 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 Well, I mean, we really don't have any solid evidence on anyone. We have a lot of theories and a lot of ideas, but nothing that's concrete. Growski says the escape route Annie posted to friends, if you notice, is within a block of A and TC. Interesting. Thank you all. Little Little Red 65. Let's see here. 65 Kalila attacks are not a hose. I agree with that, no doubt about it, Little Red B. I'm too scared to check out Annie's map. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, Kalela is a big player in this whole thing too. The sad thing with Kalela, it's kind of like when who was the one that did the Catch 22? Monk did the Catch 22 on Kalela. He can't really. He's not getting his half Bitcoin that he was technically promised, right? But he can't really go to the police and say anything because then that would make him a unaliver of Nancy. So he's got to take his punishment in stride, whatever that is. That's just so interesting. Has anybody watched that Monk's thing he did? It's really good. We are people acting like we are people. We are people acting like the escape route Annie shared is new. She shared that map within 2 weeks of Nancy went missing. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, what do you say about? Have we heard anything from anybody else? Has anybody heard from Richard at all? Anybody heard from him at all? He's been kind of quiet lately. Almost like he just got out and dodged. No. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Richard lately. Which no news is good news. What about anybody hear anything dealing with Samantha was in AJ chat Friday? Interesting. Samantha was in AJ's chat Friday. Huh. That's interesting. I apologize to her. Oh, got you. Got you. No word about him anymore. What about the Uber driver, everybody? Have anybody looked into the Uber driver at all? Anything? The Uber driver that took Nancy to Annie and Tommaso's? I went I went unintentionally invisible during our conversation. Bridget, Richard appears to have vanished for now, but I think he's still watching Sloot's live stream. Yuli's in the house. I'm just trying to wake up. Anyways, it's just another day of the hunt for Nancy, and JLR is in Colorado chasing a spring storm. Paige, we were talking about the FBI. Marion, good to have you, Marion. JLR and Nico drove that route, so the map isn't new. Paige, I wonder if the banned FBI showed banned me. I agree with Samantha pertaining to Annie. Yeah, there's a lot of good information from a lot of you people, man. You guys got some really good theories and ideas. Some of them mesh, some of them doesn't mesh, but nevertheless, you guys got some really good outside the box theories. We both agree on the FBI already knows. And they may know. I mean, they may know something. What they know, hell, I have no idea. I believe Samantha is Richard, says Paige. Interesting. Samantha is Richard. I got a weird message. I'll share it later. I'm not going to show it now. I'll show it later. It was from somebody, and it wasn't creepy. It just didn't seem to make a whole hell of a lot of sense. It was talking in like some, I don't know. I didn't even know. It wasn't anything normal. Song in my heart. I remember listening to Richard live. That was so creepy. It was. Lisa, if I'm wrong, I sincerely apologize. Oh, you're good, Lisa. We're just throwing out different ideas. No worries. So that's basically where we're at with that. I mean, God, I just so can't believe there's just nothing there. Me honest, says Paige. Has anybody seen April? I haven't seen April here. What else we got here? Sometimes brutally honest, but I'm working that issue. Sounds good, Paige. I love everyone. Awesome, Paige. I'm ready for the movie with a good ending. No doubt, right? Has anybody seen the movie Fertility? I'm just curious. If anybody checked that movie out that we were talking about, Fertility, Song in My Heart. Bridget, do you think the FBI may have their focus on someone and that's why they wouldn't check out Richard? It's very possible, Bridget. It's very possible. Yeah, it's very possible. I never heard of it. Frailty, Lisa. Yeah, it was with it was with Matthew McConaughey and Bill Paxton. Very interesting. There is a name there is a name, Gregory, in the chat insisting that Nancy is in the village in Florida. When I asked why do you think that, their reason was she is old. Oh, that is breaking news. Oh Lord. A Song in My Heart. I think Nancy has been found. I don't know whether or not she's alive though, but I think they recovered her. That's they're just trying to land the person who did it. It'd be nice if that was the case. Hey, if that was the case and that's how it turned out, I'd be happy. Barley keeping my over her dog. Bridget, I think they know a lot. They're not telling us. Oh, I agree. Paige, life is happening. Paige, I agree. Song thus not searching. In my opinion, a song we're gonna keep hoping and coming up with a new theory until we have an answer. It's just our nature. That is very true. No doubt about it. No doubt about it, everybody. If you are new, click like and subscribe for free. The Devil Pup in the Devil House, Devil Dog underscore 88 channel. Let's see what else we got going on. What else we have? Nancy. What do you all think of Cameron? He's awful being quiet. I mean, Cameron, the son of Nancy, the oldest, I believe, he has been very quiet. No one has said anything. No one has talked about him. No one has even ascertained anything from him. What do we know about Cameron in real time? Do we have any takers? What do we know about Cameron? Nothing? Let's see, song says Cameron is sitting on his back porch, sharpening his knife, thinking about all the things he's going to do to the person that took his mother. Interesting. Lisa Page. AJ is searching right now. Lisa Page. Nothing about Cam. Interesting. Nation is still missing. I'm sure Cameron has more people than we can count looking for her. Bridget Clark, I have brought up suspecting Cameron, but people don't seem to want to go there. Well, he's awful quiet. He has kept his distance. He has not got into the fray of any discussions. He's not got into any type of abnormalities. You know, he has only literally towed the line and played the game. AJW, does his have condos in town? Does he have? Yes, he has condos in town, Groundsky. Cameron does. He does have condos in town. And I believe he does have other rental properties as well. Too quiet, in my opinion. Way too quiet for my satisfaction. Short search today, he said. Groundsky, okay, Page. Song, can you think of any case where law enforcement has gone quiet like this and then they're suddenly solved the case? I think normally this quiet, this long. Marianne, in my opinion, camera is very private person, not involved in any way. Little Red Bee, I see Cam and Savannah were mom's favorite. Annie and Black Sheep. Annie, the Black Sheep, and marries his Tom guy, making it worse. Just speculating. Oh, it's understandable. I mean, it's understandable. Growski, I wonder if he owns a private jet. I don't think he has that much money, to be honest. You're talking about Tommaso, right? Growski owning a private jet. Where else do we go from here? Cameron to me is just really too quiet. I'm not saying he has anything to do with this. I'm just saying he is way too quiet. As the older sibling, as the male sibling, you'd think he would have a lot more to say. You would think he would be front and center with his military experience, but yet it's like crickets with him. Literally. Maybe he just has a really good poker face. It could be, Song. It could be a poker face. It could be a poker face. Yeah, no doubt. Just he's just very quiet. He's like we talk about Tommaso for not coming out and saying anything. We talk about Annie for not saying anything. We even talk as far as Savannah not doing anything or saying anything. But when it comes to Cameron, we just give him a free pass. How does that even make sense? Lisa Page. It just doesn't make any sense. I feel like the day the three of them walked down to the Flowers Memorial, that acting, they were actually saying goodbye to her. Yeah, I kind of agree with that song, no doubt. Bridget, yes. And every time I bring up Cameron acting suspiciously, people want to overlook it. No, I mean he really goes under the radar, like he's given a pass for whatever reason. Little Red Bee after Savannah talking about him like that, I'd be quiet too. Well, we don't want to overlook it because in our mind we want to him to be the hero and find her because he is the male matriarch of the family. True, that is very true. That is very true. Marianne refuses to believe that family is involved in any way, says Paige. I mean, I know it's hard to put that out there with family because we don't look at family as like that would want to do harm to their own family per se, subconsciously. Love me some Marianne. Growski. Cameron is holding holding it all in and the best he can. Looks mad as hell. Bridget. They say things like he's military and intelligence and he's above my wrongdoing. Yeah. Well, they're strong words, no doubt about it. And you guys have been great, been amazing. You guys have been awesome. Even you in the back, they're just listening. You guys have been great. I appreciate everybody on this live. Hearsay, Cam is doing his own investigation. It's possible. I mean, I would like to think that if it was my mom missing, I'd be doing my own investigation. It's very possible. I wouldn't blame him for it. That's for damn sure. Lisa Page. Is there anybody we haven't talked about that would fit this narrative? Anybody at all that we have talked about that would fit this narrative? Bridget, don't get me wrong though. I don't really blame him. Just pointing out he has a strange behavior. Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly, Bridget. I'm going to just listen now, says Marianne. No one is above suspicion. When did he get the text from Kaleha? Proof, laughing out loud. Little Page says, please don't be offended, Marianne, unless I'm lying. Yeah, I don't know who we don't know who it is to be honest. I mean, we're just making comments, guys. That's all we're doing. Little Red Bee, he he's meaning Cameron. Lisa Page, it's so just let me know. No, I'm not saying it's Cameron or it's not Cameron. I'm not saying it's anybody for that matter. I'm saying it's interesting to know if in fact it is him, right? It would be interesting to know. But I'm not saying it's him. He's just awful quiet. I mean, usually, FB knows, in my opinion, no doubt. Usually, if someone's quiet, we usually go after that person who's quiet, right? But lately, it's like that's not happening, and I'm not sure what the reason behind that is. No worries, Little Red. No worries. T-Gam, not much has been said about the staff, such as pool cleaners or garden care. That's very interesting. You would think they would have hauled them all in and questioned them, and maybe they did. I don't know, but it sure as hell, we just don't know. Pay says, "I respect everyone's opinion." Amen. All right, everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and end this live. Be back at 5. We're going to end this live so that we can go ahead and start doing some other things. I know it's a rough one because it's a Monday, but this is where we're at. Um, we'll look at don't forget to look at the Holly case that we talked about earlier. Don't forget to look at that and see what you can find because we'll be probably talking about that next. So just wanted to let you all know thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all. You guys are amazing. And most of all, it's all common sense, everybody. It's all common sense. Simplify.